Back in 2008, I attended a Lani function in Cape Town, and at our table was a person that I've met, which I discovered later that night was actually an actuary working for Old Mutual. And as the night progressed, he also got pretty intoxicated, and he started talking a lot. He also told us in full color about the company, the reassurer that Old Mutual bought for $330 million, which eventually went bankrupt, and Old Mutual just drew a pen through it. But that was not all. He also told us that Old Mutual invested $1,800 million with 4 financing companies in America. Now the question is, is Old Mutual going to see that money again? Why does the policyholder not know about it, or why wasn't it, published in the newspapers? And the other thing is, does the BEE company knows about this? Do they have any knowledge? Another interesting story is that in November 2009, I met a guy in Plettenberg Bay, which was working during that year, was working on the mainframe at Old Mutual head office. And he discovered 2 sets of books. How many people knows about that? That is also interesting. Does a BEE company knows about these 2 sets of books? Because surely, a mutual is a mutual company. It belongs to the policyholders. It doesn't belong to individuals. So, all these things doesn't make sense. Because is it really, how above board is all these stories? Then also, it's interesting is that you know that back in 86, I took Mutual on because I developed a credit finance insurance for the Nedbank, and I wanted to implement that, but Francis Matham and Peter Harvey stopped me because they said, no, Gideon has got sole rights to work in Nedbank, which according to me wasn't right. But besides that, the way that they acted wasn't right. Because I later discovered, because I was, when it started off, I was with an attorney firm by the name of Van Sailen Rudd. And my wife was working for UPE at that stage. She was a lecturer there. And the legal department one day walked into her office and said to her that they believe that I was busy with a court case against Old Mutual, and that they don't think that I'm with the correct law firm, that I should change to Oosthuizen, Hazel and Wilmot, which I discovered by accident during this year that was orchestrated by Francis Batham and Peter Harvey, that I should change, because I discovered that one of the senior partners of Oosthuizen, Hazel and Wilmot was friends with Francis Matham and Peter Harvey. So they orchestrated the whole thing, that I should, run in circles and not, come to a point. That was interesting. And then also, during that time, Gideon also phoned my wife one night, and my eldest son was just born, and he was in the intensive care in Port Elizabeth for 32 days. And he asked where I was, and she said, no, he's at the hospital. And she explained to him the whole situation. And he says, shit happens. We've just not got to accept it. And he called himself a Christian. That's quite funny. Then also, Leon Lasro, which was one of my clients and friends, was his auditor. At that stage, there was an extra 2 million rand to be invested of this neighbor of mine and friend, Jack Rummel. And he then phoned Francis Matham and asked him, there's a further 2 million rand, what should he do? So Francis told him, man, go and invest the monies and put the commissions in your pocket. Don't share it, it's yours. Was that fair? And then I also discovered that Leon Lasro wasn't lily white, because at that stage he was sending antique silverware to Sotheby's in London, where it was auctioned, and those monies and proceeds was put into offshore accounts. This actually also told us that night in 2008 also another interesting story, and that is that Mutual was taking a lot of monies out of the country under this forex company. But it was so much money that they didn't know what to do with it. So they then contacted SA Breweries and told them that they will finance SA Breweries if they want to buy up a lot of the overseas breweries. Where are those proceeds? Where is all those profits? Surely the policy holders of Old Mutual has got a right to those profits and proceeds. So, there's a lot of questions that one asks. Also at that stage, there were some beautiful people working with us, which had a lot of talent. I'm thinking of Amelia and Joe Evans, which was forced to resign because Peter Harvey and Francis Mathan wasn't happy with him. But they had a beautiful future, and they moved to Pretoria. They were chased away. And then also I think of Chris Rahl, and I think of Hubry or Darby de Bruin, that was also working for Old Mutual at that stage. And then, the other question is, the BEE company, do they know of all these things that went on? Because surely, do they know what is the real size of Old Mutual? Do they know of all the monies that went out of the country? There's a lot of questions that